All right, let's talk about two of the most powerful tools out there for anyone who creates anything, Git and GitHub. We're going to see how these tools can take you from, that total mess of files to a super streamlined collaborative workflow.
Okay, so how are we going to do that? Well, first, we'll talk about that chaos we're all trying to escape. Then we'll dive into Git's core idea of snapshots. We'll take our project online with GitHub, craft a professional identity, and finally see how this whole shebang scales up for awesome teamwork.
All right, first up, why do we even need this stuff? And to answer that, we got to start with the kind of chaos I think we all know a little too well.
We've all been there, right? That sinking feeling when you're lost in a sea of different file versions, terrified of overwriting something important, or losing that one great idea you had 3 versions ago. Yeah, doing it manually is just stressful and honestly super inefficient. And this is where a version control system, or VCS, comes in to save the day. Seriously, think of it like a time machine for your entire project. It's this safety net that just meticulously records every single change you make. I'm not kidding. It basically gives you superpowers. You can rewind time to undo a critical mistake. You can see how every single file has evolved. You know exactly who changed what and when. And maybe most importantly, you can recover your whole project if disaster strikes. It's all about working with confidence. So, okay, we need version control. Got it. But not all systems are built the same. And that brings us to Git, which is by far the most popular VCS in the world. And it has this unique way of thinking that makes it just incredibly powerful. So here's the big idea, the real game changer. Most other systems, they track the changes between files, like a list of edits. But Git does something different. It takes a snapshot of your entire project every single time you save. And here's the clever part. For efficiency, if a file hasn't changed, Git doesn't waste space copying it again. It just points back to the last version. This whole snapshot approach is exactly what makes Git so ridiculously fast and reliable. Okay, so this whole snapshot philosophy boils down to a really simple 3-step rhythm you'll use all the time. First, you modify a file. You make a change. Next, you stage it. Now think of this like putting it into a shopping cart of changes you want to save all at once. And then finally, you commit that cart, which takes a permanent, lasting snapshot of everything inside. So you modify, you stage, and you commit. That's the core loop. That's it. All right, so you've got this beautiful local project history all managed. But let's be real, creation is usually a team sport, right? So how do you share this history and actually work with other people? Well, that's where GitHub comes into the picture. Just think of GitHub as the cloud for your Git projects. It's this amazing platform built on top of Git that gives you a web interface, all these cool collaboration features, and a place to host your code so you can get to it from anywhere. And getting started is, it's so easy. You just pop over to GitHub, click New Repository, fill out a super simple form with a name and maybe a quick description, and that's it. You're done. Your project now has a home on the web. But before we start inviting people to the party, let's take just a minute to set up your digital storefront. I'm talking about your profile. A clean, professional profile really builds trust and just makes working together that much smoother. So your public profile is basically your digital business card. You just head into the settings and you can add your name, your company, where you're at, even a link to your personal website. This is how the community starts to get to know you. Next up, add a profile picture. I know it seems like a small thing, but it makes a huge difference. It just puts a human face to your code and makes all those interactions feel a lot more personal. Okay, now listen up, because this step is really important. GitHub uses your email address to link all your work back to your profile. So you want to make sure you add every email you might use for development. That way all your contributions get credited to you no matter what computer you're on. And finally, and this is probably the most crucial step for your security, please turn on two-factor authentication. This adds an extra layer of protection to your account. It means that even if someone steals your password, your account, and all of your hard work stays safe and sound. Okay, with your identity locked down and secure, you're ready to scale up. Because Git and GitHub aren't just for you working alone in a dark room. They absolutely shine when you're part of a bigger team. See, as your projects get bigger and you have more people, trying to manage everything one by one becomes a total nightmare. That's what an organization on GitHub is for. It gives you this one central dashboard where you can see all your projects, all the people involved, and the teams they're on, all in one spot. And within an organization, the real magic comes from using teams. A team is exactly what it sounds like. It's a group of users. So instead of messing with permissions for every single person, you can just grant an entire team, like say your design team, specific access to a bunch of projects all at once. So much easier.
And here's a perfect example of that in action. You can create a team called front-end developers, throw all the right people in there, and then give that team access to only the front-end repositories. Meanwhile, your back-end team can have access to a completely different set of projects. It keeps everything neat, organized, secure, and just way easier to manage. You know, when you boil it all down, what Git and GitHub really give you is something more than just a backup system. They create this perfect, detailed memory for your project. Every single decision, every change, every contribution, it all becomes a part of its official story. This whole system, it's designed to take away the fear and the friction, right? It's there to empower you to build and create and collaborate with total confidence. So really, the only question left is, what incredible story are you going to tell with your next project?